Hello. Second intro tonight because we're over here on Twitch. Right here. Pow. This is where we're live at. So this is the second intro for those of you watching. We're going to do a tier list. Welcome back. I know you guys love these tier lists. We're going to do a big one today. We're going to get rid of all the rest of the characters that aren't Squid Games. So all the characters that are in currently, released packs. So we'll have all the characters in. This is who we have left, my friends. Doc Brown, Marty McFly, Boris, Tape. And over here on the other side, I added two more. I'm gonna do the Pan and Hook pack that we didn't do when they came out. We're gonna play a little catch up. We're gonna do all 6 of these. We're gonna talk about them, put them in the tier list. If you guys see my other videos, if you haven't, I'm sure this is in another playlist. I've done all the characters in this game. There's 60 something now, maybe 60, maybe more than 60. I don't even know. There's a lot of characters in this game because it's great. So let's start with our first character. Without further ado, let's just get started. Let's jump right into it. We got a lot to go through. So one of our last characters to add is probably my favorite character. I have a couple red grays that I like to play, but Doc Brown is probably one of my favorite characters just because of the shenanigans you can do with him. He's blue, or he's gray blue. Got 2 defense, and his trait is DeLorean. During setup, take out Doc Brown's cooldown track. If Doc is standing when he becomes exhausted, you may flip the cooldown track. You may not use the ability on your first turn. So, when you're done with your turn and you've exhausted Doc Brown, spin the cooldown track. So if you have point markers that were supposed to go on 4, where you just picked up a point token, at the end of his turn when he's exhausted, it spins, and now they're on the 1, and at the end of the round, you can flip the token, or the first player marker, and the point comes back. So I use this a lot to do heavy-handed, I use Thanos and the Joker, and put their tokens on the 4 or something. Somebody who costs a lot. Arya. Anybody with Doc Brown who have heavy-handed ability tokens. You can put Doc Brown in a nice little spot. And just based on his trait, you can pick up point markers and just farm the point markers and get your tokens back every turn. So you use Thanos and somebody else to kind of protect Doc Brown as he's point farming the marker every turn. And you hopefully maybe you can get a flag score or play a little defense. So you're really trying to point farm and play defense and maybe get some picks with the heavier the characters you take on your team. What's up, Suzo? Welcome, welcome. To do this tier list here to show how great Doc Brown is. So that's just his trait. The shenanigans you can do with just his trait alone are amazing. First ability is a blue 88 miles an hour. Move up to 4 squares in a straight line. This action makes Doc through rivals. Limited to once per turn. So pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 4, and you can go through. If he was your enemy, you can go through him. You can't go through walls and stuff, but you can go through. 1.21 gigawatts, 3 gray. Do a challenge 3 to each adjacent rival. Pretty easy. Challenge 3 AoE. Anybody who's his rival adjacent to him gets a challenge 3. Roll 3 dice. I'm lucky tonight. Oh my god. Ooh. Alright, his last ability. Great Scott. Choose up to 2 tokens, items, or characters on your cooldown track. Shift them down 1 and everything everything else up 1. Okay, so you shift them down 1 and everything else. Not even for tier list can I roll a single hit. Okay, so this is a cool move. So you pay the 1 gray, right? So say you have a couple of things on. Maybe somebody's died. Maybe somebody's been taken out. Doc Brown's still alive. He does Great Scott. So you pay the gray, and you can choose up to 2 tokens, items, or characters on your cooldown track and shift them down 1. So we're going to take this character off back to our starting area because you can shift characters off the cooldown track. We're going to take this token off, and move everything else up 1. And then sometimes it's advantageous to do it twice, so you'd Great Scott again. And then you would just take this gray off and put this blue up here, just to move these tokens on. So when you exhaust, you can spin this and get them back anyway. So it's a lot of cooldown track manipulation. Nobody's ever like on the cooldown track. As long as you have Doc Brown going, you can try to let him go last in most situations, to where you can have people spend their tokens, put them on the cooldown track, and then manipulate them as to where you want them, so they just come back the next turn. Doc Brown's freaking amazing. He's definitely very high tier. Insane. He is insane. Marty McFly, Doc Brown's little buddy. Yellow-blue. 2 defense. Nobody calls me chicken. If Marty is standing after a challenge against him from an adjacent rival is resolved, Marty may do a basic action. Okay, so if Marty is challenged and defends from the challenge, he gets to do a basic action. So a move, a challenge. If he's here, he could take the point marker. So if somebody comes up on you and tries to knock you down, like before you get to the point marker, and they lose the challenge, you can just pick up the point marker, because you get a basic action with. But it's only from adjacent rival challenges. It's not from a ranged challenge. So if he was a caster and he had a ranged challenge and he lost, you wouldn't be able to pick it up, because the trait is only what is it called? It's only from challenges. So if he challenges you, defend. Oh, a big crit. So he would defend, right? And then he would be able to take A. And then hopefully Doc Brown's turn would be over, and then Marty could like do something in retaliation next turn. First ability. Rock and roll is a 2 yellow. Range 3, challenge 2. So it's a range 3, challenge 2. So 1, 2, 3, challenge 2. Then you get to move 1 after the challenge. So as long as you're within 3, you can challenge 2, and then after the challenge, and whatever other crazy shit goes on like after the challenge. So like, there's a whole bunch of things that can happen after, like Rose's stuff, and think of a character that has like a challenge instant, and then that stuff would happen, and then you get to move 1. There's a period there. Range 3, comma, challenge 2, and then period, because you're there might be other things that happen after the challenge 2, and then you get to move 1 after all that if you're still standing. Marty's probably best ability, this 2 blue or 3 blue here. Fix the timeline. Place Marty on the nearest square that contains a point. So, I mean, you just pay. Say you start the game here, you pay 3 blue, and then you go right to the point mark. Then you can take it with your second action. So it makes Marty like amazing. Marty's amazing early game. I think his trait and his third ability here make him better for like mid to late game, but he's definitely an early game animal. He can swipe up all the point markers and get him and your other characters to get to point markers that he's not close to. You know, you can clear up the board with point markers very fast with Marty, just based on his 3. If you have a couple extra blues, maybe you have LeBron or somebody gives you extra blue. Third ability, 2 yellow. This is heavy. Move 1. Choose up to 2 ability tokens or items on your cooldown track. Shift them down 2. Okay, so you get to move 1. And then, what are we shifting down? Ability tokens or items? Ability tokens, and I don't have any items out. We'll just say the basketball's on the cooldown. You can move items and ability tokens down. So a little bit of cooldown track manipulation for like mid to late game. Try to move your tokens back. He's also got like a little bit of range and movement, and his trait's pretty good. Marty's pretty good. I think he's like maybe upper A. We'll put him in later. We'll put him in later. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'll do it. We've got a Harry Potter character. Dolores Umbridge. Gray red. 1 defense. High Inquisitor. Struggling. When Umbridge does an ability, she may choose a standing ally she can see within 4 squares. Do the ability as if Umbridge was in that ally square. Okay. You have to see them? Yeah, okay. So, Umbridge and Marty are on the same team. Marty is within 4 squares and can be seen by So, technically, Umbridge can do any of these abilities I'm saying, plus Marty can do any of these abilities. So, we'll take this first one for example. It's a 2 gray, range 4, challenge a character adjacent to target 1. Okay, so 2 enemies. Here. So, Dolores can do the range 4 in any direction, but since Marty is an ally within 4, Marty can also do the range 4 himself, but it's like Dolores is here with him while she's doing the ability. So, like, she teleports to this to do the ability, and then she goes back to her square. But she's channeling through Marty. That's how the ability's meant to be seen. So it's like she sends her ghost. She like sends her ghost spirit into Marty. So she's physically Marty, and then he does the range 4 challenge 2. So I mean, easy enough, right? Range 4 challenge 2, and then you can move a target adjacent, right? It's a character, so Snape doesn't necessarily have to be a rival. He can be an ally, but you can move, since he's adjacent to the original target of the cast, you can move him 1. Move him 1. Maybe you gotta move somebody out of a territory or something. Maybe they're both in the territory, right? So you use Marty to cast on to Doc Brown, so you zap him, and then maybe move out of the territory. Her second ability, Educational Decree 35, range 2, challenge 3, 1 additional dice if that character's hold. Okay, same thing. Range 2, challenge 3, and it's a challenge 4 if the character's rolling an item. But still, she can cast it through Marty, because she may not be, like, within the range 2, but she's within 4 of Marty, and he's within 2 of Doc. So she could use this, spend the red 2, to have herself cast this to Doc from here. And he's not, I don't think, unless he had, like, the basketball. He has an item now, so now she can roll dice. That's a whole bunch more than get the gist. Third ability, Educational Decree 98. Control an adjacent standing rival. They do a bit. Okay, so now Doc Brown is our enemy. You control him. So we'll do this the easiest way I can think of it. So he has a black base. He's now on the other team, correct? So when you do this, you pay the 1 gray. You control this rival, and while you're doing this one action, they do a basic action. While they're doing this one basic action, they are technically on your team. So if you have them, like, say the point marker was here. If you have them take the point marker, they're taking it for you. If you have them, like, if you controlled him here and changed him, and you want to fight Marty, you can fight Marty if he was a black character. So you control him, you change his color, and at the end of the action, he goes right back to his team. So say he fought Marty. Normally you can't have allies fight allies, but since he was switched, he was controlled, he was on the red team, he can fight Marty and knock him out, knock him over. You can do a bunch of crazy stuff with rival. I mean, if they're in here with you, control a rival to like walk out of the base or walk out of the territory. If we were playing a game type where there was like control, flip the point marker, you can have like your rival flip a marker for you. Say it's dark and you want to flop it to red, you can flop it to red. There's a lot of different things you can do with that ability. It's really, it's one of her better abilities for sure. And you can do it from 4 ways. So say she's here on your team. That's within. You can now use Doc Brown. Since you can't get in and get adjacent to Marty and use it, maybe you can get into the base or something. Doc Brown. Spend the 1 gray to have Doc Brown control an adjacent rival, because you can still channel. It's any ability that she has. You can use the educational degree 5 or 98 through an ally that's within 4 that you can see. She's pretty crazy. I mean, kind of weak in territory games, but I've seen Bo use her a lot, and she's not terrible. She's got 1 defense, which makes her an easy target in like leaders games too. So I'm trying to find a game type where she's amazing at, but it's hard to find I don't even know, like flags. Like it's hard unless you're playing like a defensive strat. She's just kind of hard to fit into places. She's not terrible. Her stuff doesn't cost a lot. It's just hard to find a game type where I really love her in. Our boy Cerberus Snape, R.I.P. Alan Rickman. Gray yellow, 2 defense. For Snape or an adjacent ally does a challenge, you may place a Cerberus Snape status card on the 3 of your cooldown track to add its effect to the end of the challenge. So here's the cards. You can move a target 1 square. You can move 2. Or you can shift an ability token on your cooldown track down 1. Those are all pretty basic. I don't know if I have to explain those too much. Move each target 1. Shift an ability. So you can add one of those cards to like at the end of a challenge, but they go on the 3. So you or an adjacent ally does a challenge. So if you were an adjacent ally does a challenge, you can add one of these. We'll add the bottled fame. So you do the challenge, and then this gets added to the end, and then you can move something down. Or if you spent this one at the end of the challenge, you can move 2. If you're still standing, of course. So say you challenged Marty and you lost, and he won the challenge against you, but you're using the Brood Glory, you can't move 2. So it's like you couldn't even use that one. So you place the card before the challenge to add its effect at the end of the challenge. So you could, it's like a gamble with the against Marty. It's technically a gamble, because you could, if you paid this before the challenge and you got knocked over, you'd be losing it because you can't do the move 2. So there is a little bit of gamble with his cards because you're paying before you do the challenge, which is kind of cool. I mean, it adds a little spice. That's just his trait. You got 3 cards. His first ability, Defendo, range 4 challenge. Pretty easy. As long as you're within 4. 1. Volnera Sanator. Move 2. Ooh, nice. Move 2 and do an assist. Pretty basic. You can move 2 and help somebody up. Sectum Sempra, challenge 4. As long as you're next to somebody. It's not a range challenge. I mean, if you had somebody that added range to the challenge to an ability, then it would be. But this one, the basic challenge 4. Challenge 4 for 3. Our rolls are trash tonight. He's pretty good. Got some pretty good challenges. I mean, the challenge 4 for 3 is okay. The best part about it is maybe you can move a target. He's mid tier. He's mid for sure. I mean, a range 4 challenge 2 is pretty good, and then you can add like target 1 square to the challenge. No, so the cards costing 3 kind of stinks too. You kind of got to be picky. He's better in shorter games, I would think. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Snape per se, but I think he's mid. He doesn't do anything that like blows me away. The move to do an assist for 1 is really cheap. A range 4 challenge is really cheap. And he's challenge 4 is what it is. It's okay. Let's go to our blue side. Let's finish this bad boy up. Then we'll throw it to the tier list. We'll throw them in there. See what's popping, boys. Our last 2 characters. New to the Funkoverse. Peter Pan. Captain Hook. We'll start with Pan. Blue, red. 2 defense. You can fly. When Peter shifts off the cooldown track, you may place him on a point marker or point marker setup square. So when if he dies or gets put on the cooldown track for any reason, when he comes off the cooldown track, he can get plopped in any of these spots with a point marker. Even if the point marker is on your cooldown track, you can use the scenario card right here to find where the point markers usually go, and then he can start in any one of those, as well as your starting area. Which is pretty nuts. I like that idea. Or you can go to any 4 corners of the map, where Marty can only go to like the nearest point marker square. He can go to any square that contained a point marker, or any square that maybe even had one. First ability is a 2 red. Move 2, do a basic challenge. Pretty easy. Move 2, basic challenge, which is always 2 dice. That's 3 dice. Oh, I got a crit on the blue side though. First roll, let's go. Second ability, Happy Little Thoughts, 1 blue. Place Peter on the one of your cooldown track, or shift him off your cooldown track. Peter can do this ability even while knocked out. So or even while knocked down. Oh, even while knocked out. Okay, so if he's standing, you can place him on the cooldown track, and if he's on the cooldown track, you can take him off the cooldown track and place him on a point marker, place him in your starting area. The only way you cannot use this ability is while you're knocked down. So if you're knocked down, you have to rally or get an assist in order to use Happy Little Thoughts. You cannot use that ability while knocked down. Third ability, Codfish on a Hook. Challenge 3, Challenge 2, both targets must be standing. Okay, so say you got 2 rivals right here. You get to do a Challenge 3 and a Challenge 2. The fun part about this one is you can use it on the same target if they're standing. So say you challenge 3 to Umbridge and you lose, you can do another challenge 2 to her, as long as she's standing. Or if you knock her down, you have an option to throw the challenge 2 to Marty. So it's a challenge 3, a challenge 2. Both of them just have to be against somebody who's standing. I mean, his kit is pretty straightforward. He's got a little bit of movement. I haven't had a lot of time to experiment with him. He's pretty new. I think he needs like an item or something. Like the move 2, do a basic challenge. Maybe give him the chainsaw so you can use a little bit of movement. Because otherwise you're just trying to keep him out of harm's way and maybe use your positioning. It just seems kind of slow to take him on and off the cooldown track. It takes like a whole turn. So you have to time it right to where you're using him to just come off the cooldown track early. Maybe like you use Doc Brown to maybe he takes a point marker, like he takes B and then shifts himself onto the cooldown track with Happy Little Thoughts, and then Doc Brown can Great Scott to bring him off the cooldown track, and then he goes to another spot with a point marker already. You're trying to combo it up, because like going to a spot, like using Happy Little Thoughts to put yourself on the cooldown, spending 2 blue or whatever, to go on the cooldown track and go to the point marker, right? Then you take the point marker, right, and you go back so you get your point marker and go back to the cooldown track. So next turn, like, you come off with the end of the round, and then you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But by then, Marty's already got 2 points because he's gone to the spot and taken it, gone to the spot and taken it. It's like an extra move. You're knocking yourself out, you're coming back, and then you're taking it. So you have to time it right to where you're comboing it, or you're using somebody to manipulate yourself back off the cooldown track quicker than maybe the end of the round to get an advantage at least. That's the way I would try to play it. Captain Hook, gray red, 2 defense, man the long time. At the beginning of the game, place the cannon token outside the edge of the board and give Hook the fire status card. At the beginning of Hook's turn, cannon may do a move 3 along the edge. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, we're going to break this down real quick as fast as I can. At the beginning of the game, the first player who gets to go first, either the dark or the white side, whichever one you are, whoever gets to go first places their characters. The second player then places their character. This only matters with Captain Hook, because Captain Hook places his cannon at the start of the game anywhere along the outside of the board. So if you're going first against Captain Hook, you have to remember to set your pieces up some sort of staggered to where he can't cannon blast you first turn. Or you want to let him go first, so he has to set up his cannon, so then you can see where his cannon is, and then you can move your characters accordingly. I hope that made sense. If you go first, you place your characters first, and then he places his characters second, and then would be able to place his cannon after you've placed your characters. You kind of want to, if you're playing against Captain Hook, kind of want to let him go first. Maybe if you can find some sort of advantage to knowing where the cannon is before you set your characters up. So it puts a little bit of extra depth at the start of the gameplay. A little bit of beginning of the game shenanigans, if you will. His first ability is a 3-cost red, Taste for Cold Steel. Challenge 4, move the target 1 square. So, just a challenge 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you move the target of the challenge 1 square. Shorten the fuse. Move 1, shift a token or status card on your cooldown track down 1. Okay, so you move 1. So you can shift a token. So that's a point marker. So tokens, point markers. So ability tokens? Anything that might be a token. I'm sure there's other tokens. Sally's arm token. We'll go over this fire status card. It's a status card, so so tokens or status cards can move down 1. His third ability, Menacing Captain, and ally Hook does 2 basic actions, then Hook does a challenge 1. Okay, so an ally Hook can see does 2 basic actions, so like a move 2, challenge 2, or like if he's here, he can move 2 and take B. But at the end of those 2 actions, you have to challenge 1 to the ally that did the 2 actions. And damn, I'm on fire with the crits over on this side, boys. That's pretty straightforward, right? Challenge 4, move the target 1 square. Move 1, shift a token or status card on your cooldown track down 1. Ally Hook and C does 2 basic actions and then does a challenge 1 to the ally. Pretty straightforward. Then you got this bad boy right here. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this man the long tom. We're gonna show you how to do the cannon correctly here. So at the start of the game, we went over all that, the placing of the cannon. Hook can place the cannon anywhere along the outside of the map at the beginning of his turn. And at any point in his turn, he can use the fire card to fire this cannon. So the cannon, when fired, shoots in a straight line all the way across and does a challenge 2 to each person, each character that is in that line. So we would start with Pan, then we would go to Hook, and if Umbridge was there, and if If everybody was in a straight line, if you got crazy lucky, you could shoot it all the way across and challenge everybody in the straight line. So, that's pretty much it. At the start of each at the beginning of his turn, every time you can move the cannon 3. So every time it's Hook's turn, you can move it 3. So around corners, it would go like this: 1, 2, 3. So the corner is actually like an extra space. So it's 1 to get around the corner, and then 2, 3. So it wouldn't be like 1, 2 like that. 2 would be here, and then this would be 3. And then this card right here goes on the 3. If one of the challenge, like say you shot your cannonball, and one of these, even if you lose all of them, you get to keep this. But if you knock one of them over, it only takes 1. If you win 1 challenge, this goes on the 3. You would like to win all of them. You'd like to knock them all over, right? You'd like to blow everybody up. But it only takes 1 to get this taken away and put on your cooldown track. And that's Captain Hook. That's Peter Pan, Doc Brown, Marty McFly, Dolores, and our boy Snape. So let's put them in here. I would say Dolores is tough to play with 1 defense, and you got to play her from far away. I don't necessarily like playing her too much. Shark is getting. I put her down here, like lower B. I don't think she's quite C tier. She's got a pretty good kit. I'm not sure what game type she's great at. Snape is a little bit more versatile. I would say Snape. He doesn't have good move. Not as gambly. Not as good as Draco. I'd put him here. Maybe upper B. Hook is really good. The cannon's really good. That third ability that you can let somebody do 2 actions, even if it's just a challenge 1, it's still really good. He's just a little costly. So maybe like low A. Maybe a little higher than that. Maybe mid A. Yeah, maybe mid A. Pan, I would say upper B. Doc Brown is and Marty is upper A. Got good movement. His trait's good. Hard. It's any of these are this would be good. I mean, I would take any of these characters up here. Here is where I'm trying to pick one from. If I get one of these banger characters up here, I try to match one of these characters with something down here and build my team. All these characters are gone. I'm feeling this tier list. It looks pretty good to me. Finkelstein maybe a little low. It's still an A. Man, feels good. I like it. If you're new here, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you learned something. I hope you love Funkoverse as much as I do. Come join the Discord. Come see us on Twitch. Pal, we're here. Have a great day. Lucky rolling. You guys know what I say by now, right? Gotta like honor videos. See you later.